Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Jerry Bonner. I've come 13,000 kilometres to be here with you today.
We've got Queensland in the house.
Tollermania is a brand new thing that has never happened before, and so there's a man in New Germany, Nova Scotia, named Daniel Barnhill, and he had a dog named Diesel, and he had bought this ranch. I may have some of the story wrong, but he bought this big land that he was going to build like a lovely home and kind of acreage on. Diesel did pass away, I think, a year ago, and he does have a new dog named Oakley now, but in Diesel's memory, because Diesel didn't get to go to the Diesel Dog Ranch, he wanted to have kind of like a party for people who have tollers in Nova Scotia and just kind of have people over for, say, a barbecue. But then he posted it in some of the bigger toller groups where he had been posting a lot about Diesel over the year, and people had been, empathizing and stuff like that as he was grieving Diesel. And then when he said that this was happening, people from much farther away thought, well, I would really like to be there, and like that would be interesting to visit Nova Scotia, where our tollers came from originally. So it turned into a much bigger thing, and there may be 200 to 300 people and their tollers.
I wonder if he's a bit nervous now.
He seems to have a huge plot of land, and he's always updating with, he's got backhoes and all kinds of like machinery in there. Are you gonna go? No? Okay. Yeah, so he seems to be working every day, like physically working on making like pavilions and places for people to just hang out and have a field of tollers, and it seems like a really cool thing.
What was the genesis of, geez, I should invite anybody with a duck toller to my property in rural Nova Scotia?
It goes back to being here on the weekends, and we'd always be hunting and fishing and sharing pictures and stories online, and he had a huge following online. Then one day out of the blue, somebody said, we're going to visit Nova Scotia next fall. Would you mind if we came to the Diesel Dog Ranch and met you? And I said, no, come on up, we'll have a barbecue, we'll go for a walk. And within 4 weeks, it turned into a global event.
It's the quintessential Nova Scotia thing to do, isn't it? Invite people you've never met to your home, and then expand that to all yours and their social media connections. The one thing in common? Nova Scotia duck tolling retrievers. Because if they like tollers, they must be nice people, right? For Dan, it was about bringing them to his land, a ranch of sorts he had named for his own toller.
He was my life. Had him for just short of 14 years and lost him to pulmonary hypertension. But he went to work with me every day. He traveled all over the U.S. and Canada with me. We had traveled over 1.3 million kilometers together. Originally, when I first got Diesel, we lived in Halifax. I had bought the land down here, and we'd come down here either hunting or fishing on the weekend, and Diesel loved it here because he could be off-leash and run wild, and so I got the name the Diesel Dog Ranch.
Turn to face the sun. You're not on the run. Leave behind everything you fear.
And when he passed in November of 2021, we were all, a very large community was very devastated. We all shed tears, like the wall, I can't even look at it. Brings tears to our eyes, because this represents a lot of good times and good people and good places and fun things we do.
Diesel was my first dog.
Diesel was your first dog even? Yeah. Wow. So Diesel had quite an impact for a first dog.
Absolutely.
I lost my toller in April, and this is her. Her name is Sienna, and I miss her terribly, but I have to heal from this heartbreak first, so coming here was part of that process.
Diesel's the reason we're here. Diesel and Dan are the reason we're here, celebrating. So we're here, this is Diesel's legacy, and it's a pretty good legacy.
I do marine engines and electronics, so I was always traveling to whatever boat I was working on.
So every little port somewhere,
and yes.
And Diesel came along.
From here to Florida.
And you now have another duck toller.
I do.
And what's that duck toller's name?
Oakley.
Oakley. And where'd that name come from?
That name came from, at the bottom of the property where Diesel and I used to hunt, there's a field of oak trees.
Okay.
And that's Oakley means field of oaks.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Does Oakley hunt with you?
He does.
There you go. So it's picking up where Diesel left off.
Yes, absolutely.
This is Diesel holding a chainsaw, cutting a tree, and this particular tree, this wood came from that tree that Diesel helped to harvest when he was still here, and Dan.
Use some cherry,
Yep.
by the way.
And so Dan saves that wood for very special projects, and so Dan made this and had it laser engraved it.
So this is Oakley.
This is Oakley.
How old's Oakley?
8 months.
Oh, very
Very
so a
young,
puppy.
yeah.
It's impressive. Dan has done an amazing job getting all of this ready, the pavilion. It's amazing how it's all come together. It was born out of a little idea of, hey, come for a walk on my property. And here we are with all these dogs and people.
It all started about 18 months ago when through social media we understood that Daniel was going to put on a bit of a barbecue and bring a few tollers along, and we thought because of COVID we hadn't travelled for a couple of years. We thought, well, let's do this, and we throw in a couple of other places to look, particularly Canada. I've never been to Canada before, nor has Sharon. The prime purpose was to come to here.
There must have been people here that you had never met before.
97% of the people here I'd never met before, and a lot of this group had never met face to face before. They're virtual friends.
Yep.
But that was the other big thing, was they all got to meet for the first time.
Back in the 1990s, I came across a picture of a Nova Scotia Dutch Colony Retriever in a magazine, and I just thought they were the most prettiest dog, not knowing anything about them, but the most prettiest dog to look at ever. So I started researching, and we could get them in Australia. They had only been in the country since the early 1990s. This was late 1990s. I managed to find the breeder who originally brought them into Australia 7 or 8 years earlier, and I was able to get my first puppy. His name was Shiloh, from her lines. So he was the grandson of the first dog Toller imported into Australia back then. We now have 2. We have a Murphy, who is 5, and Scotia, who is 3.
Which is named after Nova Scotia, of course.
This is Cade, and he came out of northern Georgia, and I am so excited to be at Tollermania.
Two little tollers sleeping on the bed. In came their mother, get up your sleepy heads. We're going to Nova Scotia to meet your cousin Red. Should we pack our puppy treats? Jigs and Zunga said. Yes, said their mother. It's a long, long flight. I have 2 tollers, Jigs, who is from Nova Scotia, and Zunga, who is from British Columbia. I'm here at Tollermania today because it's amazing, and of course anybody who's got duck tollers and heard about this event wants to be here. So I wrote a book. It's called Toller Tales, Jigs and Zunga Take a Trip, and it's about my dogs who take a trip and they go from the west coast of of Canada to Nova Scotia, and it's about the discovery along the way.
I just wanted to tell you that the auction is going to start in approximately 15 minutes. So make sure you've got your money ready, you've got your pedals in your hand, and any other auction items that you might have, please bring them to the, over there.
Pavilion!
So we'll start officially around about 10 o'clock. As soon as these final people have been registered, we'll make a start. Thank you.
Now, you were also raising money for some charities here.
We were. Once it started to blow up into this huge event, we decided to raise money for the Toller Rescue. So I had these t-shirts made, and $10 from each t-shirt went to the rescue.
If you've been watching A Dog's Life this season, you'll remember Laura White sensed our tollers in Texas. And it's where we find another connection to Nova Scotia among toller enthusiasts around the world. Laura is the president of Toller Rescue Inc., the charity Dan raised money for at Tollermania. An international charity, it is a labor of love by many, but it was Laura's late husband, Don, who pushed the cause initially.
Don actually was the one who got us into Toller Rescue. He became the rescue chairman for our Toller Club, for our USA Toller Club, and that's how we got into rescue. It was something that he felt strongly about, and His service dog, Sophie, is a rescue toller.
How does it make you feel to rescue the dogs?
It's hard to describe. It's just, Sophie probably would have been put to sleep. These dogs are, particularly in Texas, there are very few no-kill shelters. And the trouble is, all the no-kill shelters are actually full. A lot of times, shelters wouldn't let the club rescue the dogs. And so that was one of the things that TRI, Toller Rescue Inc., can do, is we can go into the shelters and we can pull dogs. So we'll find somebody we know and say, hey, can you go look at this dog? And then we immediately have to, usually you have a real time limit before the dogs are put to sleep. So you have to have everything in place to be ready to take the dog and to get it to the foster, or at least a temporary foster. I don't know really what it is about Texas and why there's so many dogs that are just turned loose, but people just take them out to the country here and dump them. And to rescue a dog that, it just, I don't know, it's almost better than even breeding, because you're really saving a life, and then you're also working with it and housebreaking it and teaching it how to walk on a leash and all that.
I've got 65 and 17, I've got 70 and 28, 70 and 28, 75 and 17, 75 and 17. This is a good deal, 70, 80 and 28, 80 and 28.
We raised $6,280 at the auction here on Saturday. So we raised a total of $8,500. So $7,500 went to the rescue, and $1,000 goes to Elder Dog Lunenburg.
Wow. And how did that make you feel? Did that surprise you how much you raised?
It did surprise me, the total. We were hoping to raise $5,000 was my goal, so we were quite a bit over it.
170 is the bid.
Sue Jones is pretty much running Toller Rescue, and then Tamara does all the financial work.
The Sue Jones and Tamara Persing from the Toller Rescue decided they're going to come here next year and have their auction here.
Well, that will be exciting.
That will be exciting.
I came to New Germany, Nova Scotia, because I've been connected with the Toller Facebook group. I actually had two Tollers, one that was a rescue from Hurricane Katrina, and another that I adopted as an old man out of Madison, Wisconsin. And so I have a real fondness for this breed, and so I just had to be here as part of the group because I didn't want to miss it.
She's been a really great dog, and being able to visit Nova Scotia with her in her first year has been a really great experience, and seeing where her ancestors have come from.
Well, Goose has a thing called irreversible disc disease, so he has damage to one of his discs, which means that he can't use his right leg properly. So we worked a really long time on getting him working with, he has a harness that you carry him around with, and getting him to try and use it. But for longer walks, so that he can still go adventuring, he has a cart.
Tollermania is amazing. It's been an opportunity to connect with people that I've only known through social media. And so we've been able to do that real human thing and connect in person. But it's been absolutely fabulous to connect with people and to see this place where this breed originated. I'll admit that when I crossed the border, I started to cry. I was so happy to be here. So it was just, and then I came in, my two dogs are commemorated on the Wall of Angels, and that really I just bawled. And so there is just a wee little bit of ashes that I brought with me that are left behind one of the birch trees here. Dan had given me permission. So my Katrina and my Noble will be part of Nova Scotia. I guess maybe then by relation I'll get to be part of Nova Scotia too.
Oh my goodness. Tollermania has been, as far as we're concerned, an incredible success. We were with several hundred people and tollers. When we arrived in Nova Scotia, Cooper had never met another toller. We were welcomed into someone's home, and that's another toller family. And so we got a little introduction there with one toller, and then the next time he saw tollers was here. and he's done very well. It's loud. They're very vocal dogs. They like to talk, and so he's had lots of vocalization, and it's just amazing to be.
There was one puppy left, which was Loki, and we asked about it, and out of 7 puppies born to 2 purebred tollers, 2 of them were black, and they consider it a genetic anomaly, and he was left over, and we thought we should bring him home.
We picked him up, or got them from the breeder, Argyll, Nova Scotia, just in Yarmouth County. And a lot of the men there, or people that buy tollers, want them for hunting, and he was left behind because he's the wrong color for hunting.
I kind of like the pups better with the pink noses.
I like the pink noses. Do you know what? I never actually, the breeders always chose them for me based on what I do with them.
It is flattering, it's overwhelming, and I think Toller owners themselves are a lot like their dogs. They're a unique breed. I mean, we had people from every state except Alaska, almost every province in Canada. There's 3 couples here from BC, I'm sure. We had Sweden, Germany, a couple couples from England, Australia, Norway. It was a very diverse crowd.
If you're coming from all corners of the world to celebrate Tollers, then you're not going to leave without showing your own Toller off. Hunting is what Tollers were historically bred for, and it's how Dan got into the breed in the first place. And showing off their skills is what Tollers do best. Let the Toller scream begin.
The standard thing would be to have 3 guns in the field. They're shot whichever way the judge wants them shot, and then you go out and pick them up. And you pick them up whichever way you want to pick them up. There's quite a number of our dogs here, and their offsprings as well. So we still have 4 dogs, and we'll always have Tollers. Yeah. So this is remarkable. Wherever we went when we first started, nobody knew what they were. You know, outside of this area, but southwest Nova Scotia, nobody knew what a little river duck dog or a duck toller was. We've been to several of the national specialty shows from the National Club, and there's been more tollers here this weekend than we've seen at the specialties. And it's just amazing what they've been able to do. And it's all Dan. He loved his dog. Diesel was one of our dogs, and he loved him. Couldn't find a better home for a dog. And just because of Dan's personality and his how should we say, heartfelt rendering of his life with Diesel, this has all come about. It's just absolutely fantastic. So that's a successful blind retrieve. Dan, it's been a pleasure. I'm getting broken up here too. Dan, it's been a pleasure. We couldn't have found a better home for any dog, and we're just proud to know you. You've done a hell of a job this weekend, both you and Melissa, and you should be proud of yourselves. So, thank you very much.
And it's not unnormal for dogs to drop a bird like that and shake. We try to ensure them that they'll take and they'll hold it, come around, we'll take it from them, then tell them they can shake. Because if it's a live bird, what'll happen is that the hunt will all start again, even if it's a cripple in the water.
Dan's a quiet guy. Now, it may have started with a simple invitation to someone to stop by his property when they visited Nova Scotia, but what he didn't expect was it turning into an extreme family gathering of sorts for people from all walks of life and all parts of the world. And it's not over yet. Quite a few people showed up.
There were a lot of people here, yes, from 10 different countries.
How many do you think came?
The numbers that we have, I think, is 471 people over 2 days and 191 dogs.
Wow, that's a lot of dogs.
That's a lot of dogs.
I guess it was a lot of work to put on, wasn't
It was a lot of work, yes. Thousands of hours getting ready. And
Now, I understand you're planning to do this again.
we are. It'll be the 13th, 14th, and 15th of October 2023, and we already have roughly 312 people registered.
That's kind of incredible.
It is.
They are becoming more known, but they're still very rare. And we still get asked, what is our dog a cross of? A Border Collie crossed with something or a Golden Retriever crossed with something. And then we say, no, they're a Nova Scotia Duck-Tolling Retriever. And everyone goes, pardon? Say that again. And so I tell them to Google Toller. And of course the pictures are so pretty. And everyone falls in love. So, yeah.
Or what surprised you, I guess?
Australia.
That's a long way to come.
It's a long way to come. When they left, they said they'd see us in 2024, and now they said they'll be back next year.
Oh, wow.
And bringing people with them.
There you go. And you don't really think of we think of it as our dog,
We
right?
do,
Because it is the provincial dog.
And
But
people here think everybody in the world has a Nova Scotia duck toller. Like, we don't see many tollers. No, you don't.
We started to get glimpses of who Dan Rangel was as he poured out his love for Diesel in these amazing posts on Facebook, talking about, and they were always written from Diesel's perspective. And so Diesel would talk about his life here on the Diesel Dog Ranch, and going and being a Diesel dog and a Diesel mechanic and all of that.
We treasure the opportunity that we have had to come into this world, to meet these people, to be with you and Melissa, to be on your property, and to just be welcomed. It is a treat to be welcomed by strangers and by people that share a common bond. And our love for this dog and this breed is that common bond, and the rest is icing on the cake.
Was it what you expected?
It was more than I expected. I was surprised that everybody enjoyed it as much as they did, given the rain and the mud, but it didn't dampen their spirits at all.
How did it make you feel?
Proud.
Tack så jättemycket. Vi kommer tillbaka.
This time next year, you're going to have this property.
Yes.
There's going to be a house here, too.
I'm hoping my house will be finished by then, yes.
So you're going to invite people from all over the world to your house?
Absolutely.
That is a very Nova Scotia thing to do.
It is, yeah.
This is going to be like the giant kitchen party, in a way, isn't it?
It will.
What would you like to have happen next year that didn't happen this year?
Sunshine and less mud.
It was a little bit wet, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Well, what do people say when you show up for a job and Oakley hops out?
They were used to diesel, so my primary focus is diesel engine, so that's why Diesel got his name. Every time we'd be walking down a dock, here comes Diesel Dog and Diesel Dan.
Well, that's awesome.